Okay, time for a little cleaning here. I rinsed out that fermenter that I just bottled out of real good. Put some bleach water in it. Sterilized it real good. Now I'm going to rinse it out real good. So I got my my rinser out. This thing works with 2 bottles, or you can put this one on here. I got 2 for bottles, and then this one's for the big glass carboys. Hooks up to the sink. Turn the hot water on full blast, and it doesn't come out until you put pressure on that feeliness. So put that back on there. Take this glass carboy. Turn on there upside down. Just spraying it out real good. Okay, thought we'd work one of these wine kits out. This is a Spanish rosé. A friend of mine made some of this, said it was awful good. My nephew's getting married next summer. They wanted a box or a case of wine for their wedding, so here's my wedding gift for them. Now, I'd like to point out that this is not winemaking that you go out and raise your own grapes and you pick your own grapes and you pulp your own grapes and take the juice and do all that stuff. This is a lot simpler, and it's pretty inexpensive really. But anyway, you get these kits, and in them comes a bag with the instructions and all the ingredients. There's the packet of yeast. There's some other things in there. We'll go through them as we add them. Here, this came with some labels. I doubt if I use those. Might use them on like a couple bottles that I use for myself. So I'm not going to give them all of it. Anyway. There's a customer referral card. Isn't that nice? Anyway. And this here is a bag of sweet juice. After the fermentation's over, there should be a chemical in there to add that kills the yeast for sure. Then you add this bag here, the contents of this bag, into your wine to make it sweet. This is not a dry wine. They wanted a sweet foo-foo wine. I'm not really a foo-foo wine drinker myself, but they are. And then you get this bag of grape juice. And that's it. You pour that bag of grape juice into a cleaned and sterilized primary fermenter, which, yes, I agree, looks like a waste can, but it's food grade plastic. You cover it up, put the yeast in it. 7 days later, you rack it like we did that Tabasco wine a little while ago. You let that ferment until the yeast is done. You add a few things. You stir the hell out of it to try to release all the CO2 gas you can out of the liquid that's trapped inside the liquid. And in this case, you add the sweet packet to it. Let it sit and batch age for a little while to settle out, and then you put it in bottles like we just did a while ago, and that's it. And we'll kind of go through each step. So right now I'm going to go get me a bottle opener, church key, open this bag and pour the contents into this here. Okay, the juice is in the jug. There's some bentonite clay that you add to some water in the bottom of the primary here, and you stir that up real good, and then you add the juice. to the 5-gallon mark. Now, this kit here that I'm using is a 6-gallon kit. It's a premium kit, they call it. The kit that I just bottled, the Tempranillo, is a regular kit. The difference is just more juice, basically. And the premium kits do make a more full-bodied wine, and it's got a little bit more alcohol in it. The premium kits will work out to about 18-19% alcohol most of the time. Percent alcohol by volume, or 36 proof, somewhere like that. Whereas the others work out to about, I don't know, about 12 to 14% alcohol, usually somewhere in there. Now, before you do anything else, the next step is to add the yeast. Make sure I'm right here. Yep. Some of them come with oak chips, and that's to give it that oak and barrel flavor. And you'd be surprised it does do it. This kit doesn't have them in them. Oak chips or elderberry flour, something like that. You add that now if you want to do it. But there's a couple things in this wine making. You need a primary fermenter. You need at least one glass carboy. I've got 3 or 4. I got one 6-gallon one and 3 5-gallon ones. I've got some plastic ones that I don't use. I got off of somebody for free. Not sure about plastic. They're plastic water bottles is what they are. I'm not too sure about them leaving a plastic flavor. Anyway, on with more. You can get by with one fermenter. I like to have 2 at least. The glass carboys. This is almost a must. This is a hydrometer, measures the specific gravity of your wine. This here, so you can see it here, this is called a thief. It's not a must, but I highly recommend it. That on the end there, that's a check valve. Let's see if I can. With that depressed like that, wine will go up inside that, but then when you hold it like that, the pressure on it, it won't come out. And you use that, you can stick it inside a carboy to get a sample, to either check the specific gravity or to taste, or you can use it in here. And what I usually do is I put my hydrometer inside there, gently. I don't know how many of them I've broke. You can drop that in your wine, and it'll float a little bit. Get the bubbles out of the way, and take a reading. And I know you can't see it. Hell, I just barely can. Let's see. That's 1.11 with a 1.0 being water. With all of the sugar that's in that juice, it's thicker now. Watch this. I'll just touch that on the bottom of that. And see it all empties out right back in there. Pretty handy little tool. And we'll clean that out. Now with these hydrometer, with that reading being 1.11, which is right there, if you turn that around, if you worked it out to a specific gravity of 1, it'd be right about 14.5% alcohol by volume, but it will end up being about a 0.9 or 0.95, which will take that. I guess it's only going to be about 15, 16, probably 16% alcohol by volume. That's what we'll go with. 15. Yeah, 16.5 is what it should be. We can check it later, but every time I've done that, it's been what I estimated it would be at the start. I'll add the yeast to this now, and we'll cover it up, and that'll be it. Go, my little babies. Live well and prosper. A little background on what's going on here while that yeast gets acclimated to its environment. Oxygen is wine's enemy. However, the yeast likes oxygen. So that's why it's in this big fermenter to begin with, in this open top. You had to add all the ingredients in there and put that yeast in there. When that yeast will look at the environment it's in and determine whether it's a good environment to reproduce in. And if it's got all the right stuff, like good oxygen, a lot of sugar, no alcohol, it doesn't like to live in its own piss, it'll say, by golly, this is a good place to live and raise my kin, and it'll go to eating and reproducing and get to working. Then after it gets to working real good, seeing as how oxygen is the wine's enemy, you transfer it over into the secondary fermenter and let it go until it's done. And by this time, the yeast is already populated. It's got a little community going there, and the environment's not good anymore, but it still wants to live, so it keeps on working until it can't work anymore, because the yeast will die out when the alcohol gets so high. Usually about 20% is where it either eats all the sugar or it gets too much alcohol and dies. Now this Tabasco wine, I used a champagne yeast, which will handle more alcohol. It'll go up to about 21-22% if it has to. Now that won't be that. That'll probably be around 15 or 16%. So anyway, that's what goes on. So we'll cover this up like the Tabasco was covered, and about 2-3 days or so, it'll be fermenting. So that's all for now.
Came a lady, she whispered in my ear something